I think sometimes I feel like every couple of years we have to remind our lawmakers what it means to bring and center the decency and the humanity of people. And so for me personally, I do not have an abortion story, but I am a caretaker for aging parents. I had to take on a young child and bring her onto my home, my little cousin, due to a whole slew of circumstances that are familial. And what I really wanted to take my time and my testimony to be able to do is really hone in on the things that our lawmakers are not doing when they say that we shouldn't have choices about our body and what we do with our body, and also how we show up in our lives and the impact. And so, as most of you know, women and femmes make up about 51% of the population here in Ohio. So not only are we the leaders of our families, not only are we making decisions for our families, but we're the backbones, we're the pillars, we're the decision makers, but we also are the economic drivers for the state of Ohio. The reason why so many lawmakers can go to our state house all the time and make terrible decisions is because women and femmes like us get up and go to work every single solitary day, and we contribute more than half of the income tax that pays them to be able to make really terrible decisions about our lives and tell us how we are able to show up. And I find it funny that if we're able to keep their families fed, clothed, warmth, have roofs over their head, and we're able to make economic decisions about our lives that really enhances their ability to have so much privilege to be able to make terrible decisions about our lives, it really speaks to the power that women and femmes have throughout the state of Ohio. And it also speaks to our ability to make sound decisions and sound choices in our lives. And a lot of times, the narrow ways that the lawmakers show up and tell us how our lives should look doesn't reflect our values, doesn't reflect our morality, and it actually doesn't reflect the decisions that we're actually making in this time period. And I just overall find this fight to be insulting. As a Black woman who's a caretaker, who has parented a children that I have not given birth to, who has to make very strong economic decisions for myself in order to be able to take care of my family and show up and do the work every day with my comrades, with my family, like Olivia, like Heidi, like Rhiannon. I find it insulting that in 2020, when women have had to leave the workforce in droves, they've had to give up on their dreams, they've had to recenter their families. We are facing economic crisis like we've never seen before, a housing crisis, a food injustice crisis that was exacerbated by a pandemic, while Black mamas like Casey Goodson's mama had to pull herself out of the horrible year that was 2020 and had to find the strength to come together and hold a community together. I find it insulting that all these things that we are up against, these are the decisions that, if I'm going to be frank, white men are making for us. And people who are white aligned in their morals and values, when we talk about cisgendered morals and values, are telling us how we should be showing up for our lives. When we have some of the largest food deserts in the nation in Ohio, when our healthcare system is failing in Ohio, when Black women like me often have to go back and forth about whether I even want to exercise the right to give birth because I don't know if I'll live through it. Because I have people currently in my life that I have to be economically, spiritually, emotionally, but most importantly, alive to take care of. Like, these are the decisions that are on the shoulders of women and femmes, Black women and femmes, Indigenous women who don't get much love in the state of Ohio, are damn near invisible. So again, thank you, Heidi, for uplifting the land that we're currently on. I find it insulting that in and amongst the things that women have to face just by being women, when most single parent households are led by women, and women are literally producing miracles, snatching things out of thin air, and have been doing so for generations, that in a time when we really need our state that we generate and we drive the money for and we do everything for, we're asking them to show up, to make sure we're clothed, to make sure we have homes, to make sure we can pay our utilities. And you're telling us that the choice that we have, the one intimate choice that we have about our bodies, is the fight that you want to have in 2020. How dare you? How dare you tell us that this is the way you choose to spend our tax-paying dollars after we make up over half of this state, and we make up over half the economic driven money that flows through, and this is how you squander it. You don't give us homes. You leave our children, specifically Black and brown children, to the poorest educational systems known across the United States. Some of our healthcare it rivals Haiti when we talk about infant mortality and maternal mortality rates. It rivals Haiti. Haiti's GDP we spend in a day. This is how you reward the people who show up for you day in and day out. And I just absolutely find it insulting. And I find that we can have better things to do. And I just want to thank Representative Crowley for bringing to the forefront the health outcomes and the health implications that happened. Because what has happened in the state of Ohio is they have become so divested from the humanity, from what actual human centered policy looks like, that they just want to be right or they just want to prove a point. And I want to acknowledge how much of that is rooted in white privilege, how much of that is rooted in cisgender privilege, how much of that is rooted in economic stability, how much of that is rooted in able body, inability to be able to make decisions because you know that you have health insurance and that you don't have to use a doctor for anything, but you have people like me who struggled my whole entire life. As a person who has an autoimmune disease, as a person who's afraid to give birth, as a person who has to weigh the options of what future I want because I have to think about the implications for the people who are already here. And this is a person, a Black woman who's had a job since she was 16, matriculated through a university, a PWI, where Black people were 3% of the population, and, was called the N-word on my first day at my university. And these are the ways, and I show up and I take care of my community. I take care of the state of Ohio. Some of the women that are on this call with me are some of the hardest working people I knew. And we've been in so much community together talking about how to make Ohio a better place. And I can't say it breaks my heart because I fully expect this, but in some ways, seeing and hearing and being in community with women and femmes and knowing the uphill battle that we collectively face, while people can just squander away opportunity to make our lives better and watch Ohio fail as we fail women and femmes throughout this state really touches me in a way that I don't even think there are words in the English language for other than anger. And I just wanted to take that time to just really remind lawmakers, how dare you? How dare you bite the hand that feeds you? Make no mistakes that women and femmes are the hand that feeds you. We are the reason why you can supply things to your family. We are the reason why you can have such blind privilege. And why I should say you're welcome, I'm really going to say we coming for you. And that's really all I want to say.